Hi friends, Gene Roisengord here. So on April 24th and 25th in Lakewood, Colorado, which is in Denver, we'll be holding our implant supported mobile prosthetics course. Huge thanks to GC America and PO Prosthetics for helping me put this together. It's a 2-day course. On day one, it's a big lecture day, so I'll be covering all the aspects of implant support, and I'll go into detail in a minute. And on day two, it's a hands-on portion, so we'll be learning how to apply composite onto prototypes and dentures and OptiGlaze and all the things associated with it, the protocols, how to do it properly so it doesn't come off down the line, how to try to make it more aesthetic. So day one, pretty big lecture, about 1,000 slides. We go in depth pretty much into everything. We start off a little bit with tissue supported because that's usually the precursor to implant supported. So we'll talk about mostly immediate prosthetics, how we fabricate those, and I'll go into kind of 3 different types of things that I deal with when making those. So from that point on, we'll also talk a little bit about therapeutic dentures, because if you have an unstable bite on the patient, fabricating a definitive implant supported prosthesis is usually not a great idea. So those 2 things we'll talk about. From that point on, we'll kind of dive in a little bit into implant supported. Going to talk a little bit about proper planning, because you and I, we both see this all the time. Not enough bone reduction, not proper implant placement, not a proper prosthesis has been chosen for this particular patient. So we can talk about hygiene, we can talk about bone support, we can talk about high lip lines, we can talk about scanning appliances, how those are fabricated. Are you doing a single scan or a double scan? What are the differences? How to fabricate appliances for each one of those? Are you going to do that? Are you going to be doing this manually with an analog technique, where you're going to be fabricating it with some kind of duplicating flask, or maybe even a soap dish of some sort? I've used those before. We're also going to talk about digital a little bit, how I do those things now, how I duplicate dentures. I scan them in. I use a printer to print a duplicate of a denture, something like this a lot of times, but also in clear if you want to fabricate a surgical guide or you want to fabricate a scan guide. When we're fabricating, scan guides, it's going to look just like this, only in clear, and then we incorporate different things into it. When you're dealing with surgical guide, you're going to have to take that file and you're going to have to adjust it. I use Mesh Mixer, we'll talk about that as well. So things associated with that. From that point on, we're obviously going to be fabricating or talk about fabricating a prosthesis that's going to be either immediately loaded or tissue supported while the osseointegration takes place. When it comes to immediate load, we'll talk about the chair side technique right there in the office, or maybe delayed loading or slightly delayed loading, as I'd like to call it, where you're able to fabricate a prosthesis in the lab with some type of bar, either a fiber or metal or something that's going to prevent it from fracturing. We can talk about some of the things associated with that. Osseointegration, then we'll talk about definitive prosthetics. What type of prosthesis are we going to be using? Are we going to be using a titanium acrylic hybrid? Are we going to be doing a thimble bar with titanium, either lacy crowns or zirconia with a composite gingua? Talk about cases that I've done using either trilower arches or a pecten. So majority of the course is actually cases that I've done over these years and some of the issues that I've had with these cases, and then how I've developed certain techniques, obviously with a lot of help with a lot of friends. It's really hard to come up on the things on your own, so we're always learning from each other, and hopefully I'll try to help you guys as well as people have helped me in the situation. So we'll talk about bar design. We'll talk about how to properly use a verticulator. We'll talk about verification techniques, using stone jigs, why I use stone jigs. Talk about using metal for verification. Also talk about using different types of bars. Either you're just using milled titanium, or maybe sometimes you want to do a cast bar or a Salem printed bar that is cemented to titanium cylinders. What are some issues associated with that? What are pros and what are cons? We'll talk about dynamic abutments. I've recently done 2 cases doing those. What are some issues that I had with those cases and what has helped me? Also, we'll talk about proper scanning protocol, how I do my scanning to make sure that you don't have to be relieving the bar for 30 minutes every time they come in. Also, what type of occlusion I prefer to use on these type of cases. So all the little nuances that are associated with these cases, I'm going to be talking about them, and hopefully try to put it step by step by step on all the things that I've dealt with. All of my issues, all of my problems, all of my mistakes on the lab side, I'll talk about it. All the things that came to me from the clinical side that I had to deal with, I'll talk about that as well. Okay, so hopefully I'll see you guys all there, and thanks so much for watching.